As you hold your ledger's clip under the headlamp, an iridescent hologram appears. A street grid and the veins of a great river. A familiar sensation washes over you.
There she is, Revachol West.
Around the borders of the watermark are dozens, no, hundreds of micro-perforations. The rectangular watermark is overlaid with the logo of the RCM, and yet the major arteries of Revachol are all recognizable. They shimmer in the Kanema's headlights.
Let me see. Right here. No, it does not.
There are many of them, and they are divided into 3 separate rows. The first row has 18 dots. The next is the longest. It runs all the way around the border, and then some. There are so many, it's hard to count. More than 150, at least. Maybe even 200. The last row has 3 perforations. That's it.
Those are perforations. They represent your record as an officer of the RCM. They are your statistics, as it were. I should have guessed you'd keep a record. Officers often do. Let's take a look.
Alpha male officers who are proud of their numbers often do. It's meant.
The first row represents your years of service. 18 years. Okay, not bad at all. What did you do before you volunteered? That's what it says. I might have guessed even longer based on your age. What did you do all those blissful years of your youth? Yes, that does seem quite likely. Your youth coincided with some heady days for Revachol. But let's move on, shall we? This next row, the one that wraps all the way around, is your number of closed cases. Closed is good. It means finished. You've got, let's see, wow, more than 200. It's quite a lot, even for someone who's been on the force for nearly 2 decades. Usually, clearing more than 10 cases a year puts you in the 90th percentile of all RCM officers. Right. Those are your confirmed kills. You've got precisely 3 perforations there. For an RCM officer, especially Precinct 41, which is in the Jamrock quarter, it's rather tame. I mean that in a good way. There are certain officers who treat their kills like some kind of ghoulish game. If they do happen to solve a case, it's usually by accident. But it seems as though you are, or at least were, one of the good ones. So we have that to be thankful for. Yes. Everyone has their own method of coping, some more effective or self-destructive than others. Personally, I find it helps to keep up a few hobbies. Oh, this and that. Let's not get into it now. Anything's better than annihilating yourself with drugs and alcohol.
The lieutenant nods.
Right. I'll go turn off the lights.
You can now see your statistics on your journal page, to the right of the task description.
I gander and a hunter and a gatherer.
A simple little cadence. He seems to be making it up as he goes.
You sure are, my man. It's the jam, my man. It's a traffic jam for the ages. Harbor gates up the street are shut tight, no explanation given. Meanwhile, we're all stuck here in long-haul limbo for days upon days upon days. Feels like forever. Like I was born on this here roundabout and this was all I ever knew. Just me and the metal and the tires, the oil and the fumes of mazout. Yeah, imagine. It's been a whole week already. So tell me, what do you need? He ain't one of us drivers. I know that. All accounted for. Otherwise, I haven't really asked about that. Been wasting time right here.
It's easy to see he's telling the truth. He's kept his nose out of the dark stuff.
Analyzing the fundamental structural and psychological conditions of being stranded in the midst of a sea of motor lorries and their sad, despondent chauffeurs. Nothing. I'm just messing with you, man. Don't mind. It's like whatever's going on over at the docks. Workers got a blockade set up, making demands, no way in or out. Some pretty wild stuff, I hear. Like a giant new power crane in half the company? I forget what exactly. Good on them, I guess. I've heard talk there's a company rep in town, too. Like a strike negotiator type. They'd know what's up. Precise demands and so on.
Ah, yes, from the Wild Pines. We'll meet her soon enough, I'm sure.
They want to keep that money flowing in, my man. Ka-ching.
He doesn't blame them, but he's not on the...
Anything else? Yeah, this ain't really my area of expertise. I just do my job and get paid. I have things to do and places to... Us lorry drivers. Camionneurs. You still hang around here waiting for this mess to end. Most have scurried off somewhere to get drunk or high. Or late. Not my thing. Chasing transient pleasures is a drag these days. I prefer the examined life now. Thinking, reflecting.
What's better than chasing transient pleasures? The more transient, the better. When one's ended, you can get onto the next one. He tries his best to look nonchalant, but there's a rigidity in him, as if trying to conceal something warm and deep beneath a cool exterior. Ease into it. Don't go too far. This seems like a personal matter.
You really are the law, aren't you? I get that being bluntly observant and inquisitive comes with the territory, but it certainly doesn't help with your conversational skills, does it?
That all the beans you got, Tommy? Damn, it really is hard to talk, man to man.
Oh, high-grade narcotics, illegal firearms, stuff like that.
Relax. He's merely joking.
Can't even get a few jokes past you, my man. I've got another haul of Falm cargo. Mostly sporting goods, tracksuits and that kind of thing. They usually get shipped to Grad and the Occident. Though we've been making headway in the Il Moran market lately. This rockin' beauty. Sure is, like a rash you can't get rid of. You interested in heavy-duty cargo machinery?
A motor lorry, also called a camion, on Caillou and neighboring islands. This one looks roughed up enough to be some sort of found rust bucket. Maybe.
Good eye, my man. Yup, she's an old one, but reliable. Me and her spent a long time together. We're pals and all, but I can't just freely hand out the merchandise. The bosses won't be happy. Not unless they've illegalized sports equipment while I was on the road.
The man taps his fingers rhythmically against his arm.
Don't be a stranger.
Life doesn't need to be. I'll be with you in a moment, officer.
Have you no shame? Whining about your back every time.
René, you're a man with a fork in a world of soup. Please, let's just...
I'm trying to, but you keep breaking my concentration.
These manly men are playing balls. This is a ball game. Grab a ball and play it. Don't ask questions. That's the spirit. Don't even waste your breath asking about the game. They wouldn't know anyway. They're way past their prime. This felt wrong. Wrong like touching your sister.
Mon Dieu! Good job, officer.
There are no two more harmful words an athlete can hear than good job. And this was downright embarrassing.
What are you talking about? You just executed a pretty much perfect pétanque throw.
How are you ever going to get the officer's shit off your nose, Gaston? Or even climb out of his ass?
The man in the uniform says nothing. His merry partner is staring at the ground, like the lieutenant is looking at you. His face is expressionless.
Unfortunately, I don't. Unlike most of the locals, I have no qualms about assisting law enforcement. But this affair has passed me by in Martinez. The union is the law, so can you really blame them? Cop is a pejorative term. I don't have a problem with policemen. On the contrary, I admire the effort to bring order to our streets.
He doesn't know about the crime. Your time is better spent discussing politics.
I'm confident they are indispensable in regard to all the paperwork and other administrative duties. But you must agree that nature, in her infinite wisdom, has made men more fit to perform certain, more challenging tasks. Don't you, officer? No reason to even feel bad about that. It's just the way of the animal kingdom. Yes, the terrain here provides an interesting variety to a familiar game. I do. Fire from heavy artillery. Why what? Because that's what happens when communards hijack your country, execute your supreme leadership, and turn your capital into a slaughterhouse. You use heavy ordnance to clean up your home. Sadly, no. It was the foreigners who brought them to their knees. We fought valiantly. Too valiantly. So valiantly we got licked. Should have fought dirty, like they did with their suicide sex cult propaganda and mad anarchist women strapped to shrapnel bombs. We didn't though, and we lacked caliber. God bless him, but the suzerain's cannons simply weren't big enough.
It was probably a bit more complicated than that.
Because this place is a damn beachhead. Had to soften the commies up first. Yes, the military coordinated amphibious landing to take back Revachol. Martinez was used as one of the 3 footholds in Revachol during Operation Deathblow in 08. The other 2 are off in Stella Maris and the Delta. This here is Blood Ground, where coalition boots first made landfall and cleaned those rabid dogs out. Most likely, we're playing pétanque on their mangled corpses.
Blood ground. You got old René going there. Like he isn't hungry enough already.
Don't get me wrong, officer. I hate those foreign dogs, but the enemy of my enemy and all that, they're the lesser evil. Damn right, son. They laid the fire of hell on the city before they stormed it. And it worked, too. The rest of the city got cleaned up, but Martinez they keep as a monument. And now the Union Socialists are practically running the place.
Well, it's your own damn fault. You, we, the coalition, Revachol, whoever you want to blame, never finished the job. Officially, the party never surrendered. Of course they still all influence.
You don't even begin to truly understand the players on the table, let alone the specific circumstances surrounding the... What do you think?
Thinking men have opinions on these things. Present one.
I'm sorry it had to be them. After 8 years of fighting those hyenas, boiling cats for food and drinking piss in the mountains, I would have preferred if the Right Honorable King Guillaume returned through Revachol, or even if that damn clan Frisel had risen from the grave and led us. Instead, all that is just, holy, and beautiful in the world was wiped away, and now it's neon signs with toothpaste ads everywhere. This is just what the commies wanted. This was their plan all along. This is what they wanted to replace the role of the suzerain with. A true king in both blood and mind led Revachol before Frisel. He would have been better, but the damn commies...
Some manner of self-deceit is present in his thinking. Sounds like this Guillaume abandoned him, and he...
Damn Frisel. He was the king we couldn't protect. The Carabineers failed him, and the crown. He died in the hands of the Hyperlay, in a very public execution.
He slouches as he says that. It makes him smaller, admitting they left the king to the mob.
The suzerain is the king! Has everyone forgotten already? It's no use talking to you. You were still in Daddy's balls when it happened. When we took our last stand against the filth and rode the cavalry straight into gunfire.
As René turns from you to his partner and back, the medals on his chest rattle and glare. He keeps his spine straight, too. The larger one is shaped like a cross, while the smaller medal resembles this. A crowned head in front of 2 crossed rifles. The medal hangs from a blue stripe. It's the Croix de Bravoure, Cross of Valor. The cross was the highest battlefield decoration in Suzerain's armed forces, awarded for exceptional bravery in the line of duty, in service of a small blue star inside an orange sun. It has the setting sun was a decoration used to distinguish seasoned combat veterans in service of King Frizzle I during the Revolution.
For bravery. I'm sure. But I know this uniform's reputation. You are also wondering if I got this for raping women or killing babies. Honor is everything to me.
Whoa! Sounds like you're about to open the gates of conversation. This man will literally talk your ear off if you let him wander off to memory lane.
Didn't think you had the stomach for it. Kids don't these days. I'm used to that. For doing my duty in the heat of battle. For looking my mortality in the eye. When men like Gaston here hid in the bushes and
He saved some muddy princeling who foolishly strolled into the front line in his gown of velvet and gold.
It was on the first months of the revolution here in Revachol. Unrest was spreading like wildfire. Marauders had taken most of the Couronne and were getting really ambitious. King Frisel thought he could end it all in one decisive strike. Sent his cousin, Drisson, to put an end to the Alas, The young Drisong was all piss and no vinegar, wearing a tunic of purple velvet and cockatiel feathers to battle. Even his rifle was gold-plated, shone from 5 clicks away.
Purple velvet tunic. That is...
To keep the long and bloody story short, Drisong marched us against the partisans in Coron. And when I say marched, I mean made us walk into captured enemy territory, single file, like toy soldiers, while he rode in front on his giant red stallion. The rebels were smart. They let us come real close before opening fire. Suffice to say, it was carnage. I got shot in the left shoulder and went down. Just a flesh wound. But just as I turned over, the prince fell into the mud next to me. He was missing. Then his horse, driven mad by the noise and smell of gunpowder, stepped on my leg and shattered my knee. I grabbed my sidearm and shot the beast in the head. Then everything went black.
Capitaine Arnaud, le fléau des chevaux.
The bane of horses.
When I came to, it was all over. It was just me and Jolas Tresson, gurgling in the blood-soaked mud. Right, the dink had taken numerous flesh wounds and lost a lot of blood. But despite missing his jaw, he seemed hesitant to die. Tougher than he looked, that one. So I grabbed the dink and started crawling. Kept going until the 59th Cavalry picked us up. Through some miracle, we both survived. And the jealous freak convinced Frissel to give me a medal for not leaving him to die in his own blood. Piece and shit. He was the commanding officer and I was on duty. Just doing my job. Shouldn't hand out medals for that. 13 months later, I received the Sun for distinguished service. It's not worth mentioning.
You sense he's downplaying it. He did a lot more than his duty. The old carabinier stands quietly like a statue.
What Monseigneur Modesty is not telling you is that he crawled over 7 kilometers before the cavalrymen found him and Drisant. 2 days later that was. And that even while crawling with a mangled half-dead prince on his back, he still managed to murder 3 rebels on his...
Is that pride in his voice? It's deep down, but maybe even unbeknownst to the man himself, it's there.
Maybe, but also bear in mind, officer. They don't hand this out for anyone with a service. Oh no, you have to get shot repeatedly. And you need to get your hands...
Do not speak of what you know nothing about, Poltroon. Bah! There were many such stories in those days.
Oh yes, René, yes. Men were bigger, girls were prettier, and everyone...
I'm not getting into this with you again.
You should try to come up with a heroic story of your own. Impress this old soldier. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be anything worth mentioning among your achievements. You should resort to good old lying.
Really? What was the unit?
Something with colors and headwear. Soldiers identify with those things.
I'll stop you right there, son. I'm old, but I'm not stupid. I know a soldier when I see one. We'll get back to our game now.
Strange. He didn't buy. Son, you've really let yourself go. It's a disgrace. But Coach Physical Instrument is going to get you back in prime condition, even if it takes 1,000,000 push-ups. Does a master swordsman insult his own blade? No. I'm going to turn you into an athletic benchmark, you big... It's going to take blood, sweat, piss, and tears. But when I'm done with you, boy, you will be a master. Behold, world. Here walks a sportsman. By the way, where is home? The address is coming up blank, and this place sure isn't it. But you've been at this hostel cafeteria for only 3 nights. Where were you before? You had to be somewhere. You don't really know, do you? South, maybe. Doesn't sound like somewhere you can stay if you run out of money. You can try. Run some addresses in your head when you get the time. Maybe a street or an apartment. You should totally sing karaoke here, the first chance you get. Your emotions need to be expressed. People need to know your vast, oceanic soul.
Can I help you? Thanks. I hope you found what you were looking for. How strange. I certainly didn't put them there. The trash collection service, CS Municipal.
Ah, the elusive CS Municipal. I doubt we'll be able to track down who was sent here last and when. This will have to be one of those little threads that solves itself. Thank you anyway.
I think fugue states are more your forte, officer. Sylvie had the keys before I got here, and I can vouch for her. I can vouch for all my staff. None of us would tamper with the crime scene. Yes?
The door is closed. Still nothing. The lieutenant gives you a quick glance. You should pick that fat, juicy cigarette butt from the tray, light it up, and smoke the living shit out of it. The living shit. Your Mesolimbic reward pathway. Who knows what you are? A monster, a murderer, the gnome of Jeroma? You feel like a smoker, especially when you look at that juicy, succulent, seductive cigarette stub. How very astute of you. This renders it ineffectual. You should look for a whole cigarette, or better yet, an entire pack. Strike that. A carton. Make sure they're all healthy and able-bodied. Then smoke them all. Good. They'll make you stronger and better. You're too old to be cool now, but find cigarettes, smoke them, blam. Instantly a cool renegade. Plus, smoking them gives massive bonus. The bed is cold and not particularly inviting.
The option to go to sleep becomes available every night after 9 p.m.
thin man is smoking below an exhaust hood. Occasionally, as you step in, he nods toward the table and says something in a completely foreign language. The only words you can make out. Okay, it's definitely not his name. Whatever you do, please don't call him Garancy Quebec. Please, it's not funny. The man puts his cup down and replies something, his left hand drawing arcs in the air. He smiles and bangs his ladle against it. It's almost like music, especially with the sounds of assorted dishes boiling and you see a heavy steel door with a prominent dimple lock. It's painted blue.
You do? It's a door in the back of the kitchen. Why do you care where it leads? Yes, I suppose it's worth seeing if we can get in. Just to be thorough, as a side investigation. If you say so, Gart is the person to ask about this, the cafeteria manager.
The door does not budge. The cobalt blue surface feels rough to touch. The stainless steel door is flush with its old cobalt paint, rough on the fingers. 40, 50 years since this was painted.
Can I help you? Another thing. Great. I love those. Oh, yes, that door, sure. There's nothing mysterious about it. It's just a door. No, I don't have a key. I don't know how to get there. And I don't care either. It's not like I've been wondering about it for 10 years. It's just a frit warehouse, probably. Or some boring storage space with a bunch of old junk and dust. Junk and dust.
He's attempting to maintain an air of indifference. It's absolutely not convincing.
Fine, okay, a little. But my job doesn't leave me time for wondering about one locked door in one of the cafeterias I manage. So I haven't opened it. I have cleaned the whole place 100 times over, though, after the animals. And I haven't found a key, so good luck with that. Yes? Can I help you? Another thing. Great. Yes?
Hello, sweetie.
Wait, who's Sweetie?
Why, you are, officer. You're a handsome man, officer, with your mustache and your chiseled jaw and that silly dimple on your chin. You must forgive me. I'm getting so scatterbrained. I completely forgot to introduce myself. I'm Lena, My husband Morel and I are staying with our friend Gary just down the street, but I come here for tea when they're away.
This Lena is wacky enough for the motley crew. Hire her on the spot.
Whatever do you mean? Sequence killers? Oh my. But I think you already have a partner, sweetie.
A partner who needs you to help him get a corpse down from a tree. I can assure you with absolute certainty, there are no sequence killings taking place in Martinez.
Now, gentlemen, no need to squabble. I wouldn't be of much use to you anyway, sweetie. Thank you, but Martinez isn't the most wheelchair-accessible place, you see. Perhaps another time. Yes, dear. I'm a paraplegic.
A paraplegic is someone with limited or no ability to use the lower half of their body. Paraplegia is caused by spinal cord injuries, like falling from a great height, or a grenade explosion.
No, dear. I'm not quite that old, although I was injured in the line of duty. Nothing so glamorous, dear. Though when I was young, I dreamt of planting the Revacholian flag on... I was a training and development manager at a rapidly expanding mail-order shoe company. You'd think it would be a safe job, but I had to be everywhere, and, well, once I happened to be under some faulty scaffolding. I was lucky. This was almost 20 years ago, and I was compensated exceptionally well. One can only dream of such payoffs nowadays. That's quite all right. I'm used to people asking questions. I know they're thinking about it anyway. Yes, officer. You look rather dazed. Like a stunned fox. But surely things can't be that bad. Oh my. You know where we are, right? That's right. And where is the Whirling in Rags cafeteria itself located? Yes, indeed. We are in the fine city of Revachol. How would I even begin to tell you? Revachol is the most beautiful city in the world. We're fortunate to be here, you and I. I haven't seen very many other cities personally, but everyone says so. Revachol is a rare jewel. This city used to rule the world, though it has seen better days. Speaking of history, you know what year it is, yes? That's right, dear. How splendid. Here, take this pen. Knowledge should always be rewarded.
Her relief is palpable. She was getting pretty worried about you there.
I can tell that this is taxing for you, so I'll just ask one more question. What regime are we living under? What mode of government? Oh, sweetie. It's really not. There used to be people who thought that way. Other people who wanted those things, but... Revachol is a zone of control led by an alliance of foreign powers called the Coalition. We have almost no government of our own, and...
But they still have cops.
Oh dear. And you were doing so well. There aren't any cops in Revachol, not in the traditional sense, the status of... But we should stop for today, sweetie. You look like you need a break.
She's scared now. She's realized you really are brain damaged.
A defeat, I'm afraid. The people of this archipelago tried to build something new, something different. The rest of the world didn't like it, so they came and ended it. This was 42 years ago. It has something to do with everything. I really don't know how to explain it better. You were doing quite well up until the end there. It does look like you're having trouble remembering things.
A sigh. The lieutenant buries his nose in his nose.
But maybe a fresh set of eyes is what the world needs. And while I'm no doctor, such bouts of someone more educated in sweeping matters. Maybe you should ask.
No. I'm not an encyclopedia. I won't be a guy.
Of course. Then I don't know. Someone rich, maybe? Wealthy people are educated. Though I don't know where you would find a wealthy person in Martinez. Oh, sweetie, I heard your conversation with the manager about your financial troubles. When do you get your next paycheck?
You must be joking. Although our pay does sometimes feel like a joke.
It's not easy to assert your right to a decent living wage when you don't have a strong union behind you. Maybe...
Interesting idea. This Everard sounds powerful. Maybe you can wrangle some coins out of his pocket.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry I don't have money for... Of course, dear. Good.
There he still is, looking right through you with his white eyes. The body below is in... There he still is. An inconspicuous pile of the roofing.
Welcome to Revachol.
Don't you welcome to Revachol me. My grandfather came here from a 3,000-year-old racist isolationist culture, while your ancestors came to this island amid every school of thought and government has failed in the city. But I love it nonetheless. It belongs to me as much as it belongs to you. It's men like you who keep Revachol divided, making it that much harder for everyone to climb out of this post-war.
What he means is, fixation on the Revacholian nation makes it harder for Revachol to actually attain self-determination.
come on, man. I just said welcome.
I know exactly what you meant. You think my kind doesn't belong here, that I should watch myself and behave. But you see, I'm an officer of the RCM. It's actually my job to make sure you behave. I would advise you to remember.
Silence. The air between your partner needs backup. Now's your moment to shine.
You two make a cute couple. You know that?
The lieutenant exhales and resumes his regular calmness.
Whatever you say, officers. Oh man, that's great. Look at that guy go. God damn. Thanks for that, but no, he's not.
He doesn't live in Martinez.
Oh, not much anymore. I'm here to pick up some cargo, but the dock workers are on strike, so it's a sit and wait on your ass situation. Apples?
Apples is exactly the kind of thing you'd say if you had something to hide.
Look, as detective, I come from a long line of lorrymen. We got ancient rights and privileges. Oh, I'm here to pick up a load of fucking apples, man.
Koiko may be another derogative. For a person from Grad, you think?
Yep, it's one of their main exports. They grow him down South Yekokata. A beautiful place. Got great scenic vistas.
In fact, Yekokata is a desolate wasteland whose name literally translates to Zone of Ecological Catastrophe. It features no scenic vistas and supports virtually no plant or animal life.
Yeah? Says who? Then, I guess they grow apples somewhere else. You can never really tell with those koikos. They're everywhere, except their own homes.
He means the people living in Grad.
Yeah, you know, Gradniks, Gradvolk, those degenerates from Grad. 'Cause that's what they're all called. Koiko Pichik, Loslav Koiko, Koikovich someone. Low self-esteem, those guys have. Mind you, they look Occidental, but they're not. Hey, if the name and description fit by the very grace of nature, who am I to say otherwise? Did you miss the part where I said they aren't here yet? Besides, even if I did have some, I wouldn't go putting my nose in them, huh?
Relax. You've got all you can get here. He probably doesn't even know what he's hauling, even if it is something unsavory. So he'd remain unaccountable.
Oh yeah, they're a big deal. My great-grandfather was a carter, had a royal license and everything. We've tried to hold on to our privileges. Someone with a cart. What did you think it was? That's how deep into history our thing reaches, before machines. Sure fucking is. We have a guild and everything, huh? Very ancient. Very prestigious. Goddamn right. They've been trying to fuck us out of our heritage in the name of profit. But when they try to replace us, trusting street thugs with their goods is going to fuck them right up the ass. Mark my words. Generations of practice ain't no laughing matter. It's about biological determinism, natural law, the sorting of the races. Not the most popular topic nowadays, with a coalition in charge and all. You might want to change the topic. That is, bury your head under the sand like common sheep. I'm not the only one. Look, I've read books. The science of racial theory has all been proved Even if some people don't, people who've studied these things say that you and me are superior by design. So, naturally, we Occidentals should be in charge. Obviously, you can see the merits in that. So, lately we Occidentals have experienced an unfortunate downturn when members of the superior race cease to believe in their innate superiority. They stop competing for resources. The problem? The damn Kips are showing a real good game lately. Same with the mosquitoes. And the other introduced species too. They're on the precipice of...
Cultural victory? What is this then?
It's what the Kips of Boogie Street are going for, right under our noses. And the others too, on the radio. Heard any chansons lately? Heard any motetos or leader? No. Dominating culture is how they plan to win. They say so themselves. It's true. Also, you need to realize the dangers of mixing races. Who knows what might happen if people don't stay in their birthplace? You might end up with a new sub-race, with unknown characteristics, leading to extra competition. That's why you've got to control the offspring. Go right ahead. You may be a cop, but that...
Lieutenant Kisaragi's stern expression remains unchanged. Not a lot of moral fiber on this one yet, he thinks, wriggled out of it.
No.
He's got a smoke right there, in his fucking hand. Snatch that shit out of his fat fingers. You need it after listening to his garbage.
Can't have it. Evidence of what? I haven't done anything. But, what, officer? Sorry I couldn't be of any help.
Coach, physical instrument. Wait, how did you know all those hammer throw techniques? How do you know how to hold a discus? Or the world youth record in discus? Something doesn't add up here. This mushy thing between your ears didn't know the name of the city you're in, but it comes loaded with trivia about the correct chin position of a shot-put ball. Could it be that? Shut up, namby-pamby. This train of thought ends abruptly. It's leg day. Straighten your rhombus muscle. It's sure... You're hazy on the notion of a scab. Smells like politics, though. Maybe it's got something to do with the flask he reaches for from time to time.
I was just messing with you. No one's ever seen a cop scab. Imagine, you cops going on a strike, but then another cop comes in and says, "Let us cop for less money." Speaking of, what brings the RCM here, to the Wild North? Come to see the strife? Murder, huh? That sounds like a lot of hard work. You'd never see me investigating a murder. Of course, Policia. It wasn't me. You can rule me out. Easier that way.
He didn't do it. It's the truth.
My friend, I respect the right to roam. The open range awaits. I don't operate in that capacity. I'm not a granter of passage. The passage grants itself.
If it's all so simple, Why don't the strikebreakers just go up the
Aye. Walk right past Measurehead and go. Yeah, the 2.5-meter tall Semini supremacist there. Walk right past, then press the button to unlock the door, then go past him again, and you enter the arbor through the office. Está.
The man whispers a jaunty tune. A coastal breeze ruffles his head.
You know, serious business. I'm sure the big boss will be glad to tell you. You'll have to ask him first.
He's a chatty guy. Wants to talk about the strike too. Just can't break the command structure and tell you now.
Sure thing, my friend. I can help you out.
The coin narrowly slips by your outstretched fingers and
Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to throw it like that. It's a thing we harbor folk do. That was not meant as provocation or ridicule.
the boyadero stares at you with respect, then gestures towards.
Right, always glad to help out the RCM. We don't.
Nobody betrays your degenerate.
Yeah, Measurehead. His body totally betrays his degeneracy.
That is precisely the negligence that has led you to succumb to Al Ghul. You reek of it. An invisible sword of Al Ghul emerges from your throat. You cannot see it, but others can. It is making the woman in my company sick. Yes,
He means alcohol.
I doubt it. My microcephalic race.
It's not good.
It's like a rat crawled into your stomach, got drunk and drowned.
No, you don't. You need to get another drink. Occidental Haplogroup B4 is done giving orders around here. The influence of the ham sandwich race.
Does this remind you of someone? The guy down there?
Jerking motions, signs of a late-stage neurodegenerative disorder. How far the Occidental Haplogroup has fallen. You were once a noble and powerful race. You gave the world eugenics, electricity, and powerful weapons of war like missiles and aerostatic aircraft. You dominated lesser cultures, like the deformed Hemians and the inexplicably potato-obsessed Kroikos. But now your ascent to the genetic summit has halted. You are obsessed with sadness and with frivolous pop culture. You will be superseded. Isn't that right?
It is, baby, yeah.
There is a button right behind him, just out of reach. It must be the one that opens the door to the harbor.
Enough with this begging. You should leave the stage of bring your troops to the Simonine Islands and to Boogie Street. The walls will be lined with bottles of Al Ghul.
There may be a peaceful solution to this. You could internalize Measurehead's race theory. He would take you as one of his own. Well, Not as such. What you do with a mastery of advanced race theory is up to you. You could reject the findings, sure, or accept them and become an advanced racist. Ask what kind of races there are first. Classification is core to this stuff.
Do you?
The lieutenant looks toward the harbor's electronic door, and then,
You are obviously a liberal, Sailite. A polyculturalist. I can see it from your love of microtechnology and your sartorial choices. Do not deny there are 3 categories of race. Type A, the heroic races. Type B, the servile races. And the vile CF race cauldron of Peter. Those are the Simonese, the Areopagite, and the Occidentals. Excluding the Mao, a receding genetic pool has led the Maun on reprehensible street parades. In Mauns, you know them by the names of their nation-states. The Oranese, the Gotwald,
Mahoon is a derogative term for first world people of Gotwaldian descent. They do not all have eczema, or in some municipalities of Oranje, people do wear shoes made of wood to street parade.
The Maun are proof that you can have too much Occidental racial purity.
Colorful tassels are, let's be honest, not a good sartorial choice for this century. You might want to...
The Vespertines and Messenians of Vesper and Messina, the ancient Meteorans of Meteo by the other large Mondial civilization, the Mesk, are too yellow and oleaginous. Overproduction of sebum. Sebum is leaking into their brains, making them listen to El Mariachi music and eat toxic mints, as proven by the Maun and the Mesk. Occidental type A is in retrograde. The indigenous people of this, the Insulindian archipelago. The Simonese inhabit the southern islands. I am Simonese, from the stock of Ulmuir on Ile. The Areopagites are the master race of the Ile Maran. The Areopagites are sleek, long-headed. The latter is perfect. Type B are the unheroic races.
The Khoikos of Grad, Yuko, Zhimsk.
Yes. To an untrained eye, the Khoiko appear. Pinkness is a racial quality. The Khoiko, the countless micronationality.
Wouldn't he be one for ethno-states?
They are microscopic. The Semeno-Areopagite its leaders will be the genetic epitome of the Simonese and Revacholians, halfway between type A and the racial called.
Is it 82,000 years that we've been recording history? You have very little idea of what is happening, but that seems a little off.
The mysteries of the people of this planet are a tragedy that has played out countless times. The revolution came to... The revolution is fatal. Enough of Tibet. Chips, CF, are a music. Lesser races like the mosquito is born sterile.
It seems unlikely that 2 human beings produce genetically sterile offspring.
You are right. You have, misunderstood. Then there is this, the Khoiko. This will, but enough. It is cruel to entertain her. You understand nothing. To solve the great race enigma, you have to first ask yourself, what is the race enigma? You have not even worded the mystery, let alone solved it. We will see.
Access to the Union is important for our investigation, but there may be another way in. We...
Am I mildly worried he might take it seriously? The lieutenant thinks. Yes, I am, he concludes. I am worried.
You need to internalize what you have heard here today, then return to me. This clarity does... I cannot possibly imagine what else we have to discuss, Tipere Vasholian. Your love for disco music and venereal disease? Oh, don't be vulgar. White or not has got little to do with this. Mr. Claire is a man of vision and me also. To serve is noble. It takes discipline. Your petulant individualism has only contributed to your race failure. It is lax and moronic. Idiotic communism is the single greatest above all. Rampant multinational finance still reigning large. Tell me, where have you gotten your love of pathetic communism from? Offshoots of the Seminese people, I am not surprised you enjoy it so much. This has happened to many of the South Island race. We are the future. I am a descendant. The narrow... No. I have heard about it on the radio. I'm from Couronne. And no, it is not. You have heard enough about our phylogenetic secrets for today.
I think this racist is better than the last. But the next...
That will be the...
There always is.
Race is reality.
He does not so much as glance at the object.
Stop showing me your pathetic...
He had nothing to do with it.
Racists are generally not very good examples of their race. I am not like them. I am craniometric perfection. I have taken the trouble to you exhibit forward. It is impossible to... This leads me to conclude you are not a police officer. You are... Your racial heritage is uninteresting. It is the same...
He's right there. It's almost impossible to get it on unless you're both drunk. It's too scary when people are sober. Hey. Psst. Psst. Hey, yes, you. Word on the street is you're ready to start building communism again. You keep saying things like, down with the bourgeoisie, eat the rich, sodomize the landowners, impale all people who have more than 25 real in their pocket. Literally murder all human... Okay, not in so many words, but don't deny it. You're about to rip off that. Everyone can see that. So tell me, do you have any questions before we fire up the big communism builder? Or do we get right down to it? Failure. It's about failure. Yes, abject failure. Total, irreversible defeat on all fronts. Absolutely you alone, against every living thing, against every human alive. 800 trillion real. You against the atom, the charm and the spin. Where the whole world failed. Now get to work, comrade. Very well. I guess no one will build communism then. Tell the no objections. It's mathematically impossible to achieve a classless society. Did someone mention cocaine? Are we doing cocaine? No. Anyone? Anyone else? There's no one. Okay then, lie down and let the water carry you down.
Hola, Wandering Man.
Bastards! We have a right to work! Hold up and stay frosty, everyone. Cops are here.
You here to fuck with us? Beat the honest worker down. We're here to fight for a cause. Stripes usually have problems with people who have causes. Couldn't handle us. A cause gives the workers strength, gives them power.
We have a right to...
Besides, we're not that different. It helps if people see us talking, cops and strikebreakers together. Shows authorities are on our side. Builds confidence. Rights of people, rights of workers, to have gain.
His manner of speaking is wooden, the tone of voice bland and uninspired, almost.
Maybe you should ask them the questions, like why we're not allowed to make a living here. We have families to feed, you piece of shit.
So do we, Scott.
Have fun. Union shits are on full strike. Don't think they're going to let you through the gates. I'm trying to meet their fat boss. I know nothing about a murder. Wouldn't put it past these harbor bugs. They'd do anything to stay alive. Right to work! It's shameful. Cops doing nothing. You should bring backup. Open up the gates for us. Blockading gainful employment for workers is a crime.
Why not? I see numerous reasons not to pick a side in this pity.
Let us work! We were promised work. We'd be in there, working, if the bastards hadn't shut the gates. Main gate's locked. Would take heavy ordnance to bust it open. Could try to get in through the secretary's office. Door's locked. The guard's blocking. And I don't mean the scrawny mess punk either. I mean head measurer. Or whatever he is. Yeah? That giant up there, on the bridge you talked to. Head measurer. Won't let the workers by. The access bad. Standing on a narrow bridge, he's got a strategically advantageous position. And he's trained. I don't know how the Union has a trained killer up there. But that one's no joke, and my men are tired and hungry. They're workers. Why don't you go arrest them instead? I'm sure they've done plenty of criminal shit.
It would be better for the neighborhood if you went home, at least for now, if you can't get in anyway.
No! They will give up eventually. Or get drunk. Leave the button unguarded. Then we charge. When a bunch of ungrateful, lazy cockroaches beats me, they mumble nonsense about boardrooms and workers' rights.
There's something odd in the way he carries himself. His set of clothing looks vaguely mismatched. The different pieces of the attire seem ill-fitting. His shirt is far too small and an unpleasantly tight fit, while the overalls, held up by a belt, seem to fit a man with much. He ignores your question, choosing instead to turn to the emaciated workers, raising both fists. In silence is the answer. There's something off here, but he won't.
Honest men and women, with rights, to work, to be useful, not toys for corporate interests. We came here to help the harbor run smoothly in time of crisis. If Union fucks don't want work...
I have a question. Why do all these men follow your leadership?
You think they follow because I'm big and loud? No. They follow the rules of the market, the rules of the economy, because they were...
You've been talking to him for quite a while now. Something is off with this guy. Ask him where he's from.
What's it to you? No. Don't think we've met before. I came to help out the people. We're all workers, right? Workers stick together. Came from the eminent domain, in Jamrock. Backgrounds in odd jobs, heavy lifting, cargo hauling, bouncer work. I know the drill. Worked at Territorial. Ring a bell? Uh-huh. It was a long time ago. Not before you get in there and get your ass whooped. Learn by failure.
He might have some advice, but you got to at least try to fight Measurehead first. Return if you fail.
Yes?
A lorry stuck in the traffic jam. This big, heavy Grad-made machine is well kept for such an old machine. The windows are clear. They've been recently washed. You can see a lorryman's cabin with personal belongings. The driver has adorned his space with a substantial collection of peculiar paraphernalia. Proclamations about honor, strength, and purity are glued to various panels. The back end of the cabin has a small perch to sleep. A book with ragged edges catches your notice. The front cover features a large, muscular man. The title reads, Man from Eamdal in the Lost City.
Racist nationalist paraphernalia. Not unusual in this part of town. This is our guy. Likely, yes. This guy's proud of who he is. Drapes it all over his machine.
The unpromising race pupil returns.
How did this happen? Your little fist is in his giant hand.
You must be out of your mind, degenerate drunk.
Your fist cracks in his hand like a ripe apple. Pain shoots up.
The words to the song have changed. Say, I am a violent drunk. Good. Now leave before you humiliate your homoerotic organization any further.
I'd appreciate it if you didn't force us into situations where I may have to shoot random civilians. I'm not even sure the one bullet my chamber holds would even prick that hook.
The lieutenant groans. The tear machine stands in the corner. A sign says, one...
Oh, that's the tear machine. It's a machine for tear. You know, you find tear outside, like bottles or what. You need a bag, I guess. We used to have some, but feel free to use it if you find a bag, though. I'm sure there are some out there.
A small cabinet on the wall is filled with various medicine bottles. Their logo is the bloodless rose, pure white.
Just ask me if you need anything from St. Baptiste. We don't stock prescription meds, but we do have Nosafed, Duramine, Magnesium, and Hypnogamma. I don't know. Let's see. I don't really know what Hypnogamma is. I guess it makes you feel less shit. It's no, sorry. I'm not like a doctor or anything.
Nosafed heals +1 health. Duramine heals +3 health. Magnesium heals +1 morale.
St. Baptiste, you know. St. Baptiste Pharmaceuticals. The one that sells meds out.
She is right. Saint Baptiste, the company, derives its name from Saint Baptiste, the city. Itself, you see several packaged raincoats, fill a low shelf beneath a display of croissants and juice bottles. The raincoats are the packages are small, discreet, sloppily stacked, making them easier to take unnoticed. No.
What is what? If you want to buy one, then it's only 4 real.
Her attention is drawn to the raincoats. Stealing one undetected will now be more difficult.
Welcome to Frit. Feel free to look around.
What's that magazine she's reading?
I don't know. Frit? A 7 to 11 grocery store. I think they think that the extra tea makes it funky.
The story goes that normal Fritta with 2 T's, a men's workwear shop in Vredefort, was already taken. So when Fritta Rita...
You mean this? This is Pop Stars. It's got like...
Looks like it also has something called Police de la Mode, featured on page 34. This speaks to you. She pops her raspberry-flavored, her shoulders tense. She shuffles back, only slightly. The lieutenant frowns at you before turning to the...
Okay. I'm not really supposed to be chatting to anyone, but... A warehouse? I don't know. Maybe. I don't really care what...
She looks up from under her brow.
Fine. Frit doesn't have a warehouse. Just a little back room here. Okay? I don't really know anything. I mean, I know it's there, but I haven't seen it, so... Not really. No. I didn't know him at all. I don't know, really... long. I don't...
No need to worry. It's just standard procedure for us to ask around. If you hear anything, let us know.
Okay. Uh-huh. Reality? You mean, what reality?
She is like a student unexpectedly called upon by a teacher.
I don't really know anything. I mean, I'm 15. Yeah, that's why I'm working my arse off in Frit. So I guess, like, that's... I don't know. What about it? We're in Frit? As mankind?
What will her essay prompt be?
In a good place. I mean, science is doing great, and this radio computer thing seems to be kinda big. I don't know. I don't know. Look at the clock.
The clock shows the time at 10:09. The hands seem to be still. It's apparent the clock doesn't work.
When ordinary people take over the government and, demand... Yeah, it happened like 50 years ago or so. Sorry, I'm not very good at this. Our government? Or do you mean something else? Sorry, cool.
A colourful display of cigarettes and alcohol bottles line the shop wall. There, in that dark green glass, all in vain. The great flowing river of warmth, wine, alcohol, beer, alcohol, love, alcohol. The beauty, the truth.
I'm obliged to inform you that both alcohol and cigarettes damage your health, but I guess you already know that.
Hello again, my man. Nope, don't smoke. Some of the other drivers do, though. There's still a few around, waiting for...
Yup, Nothing wrong with that statement. Your senses have nothing to...
You could also check the kiosk down the street. Frit. With 3 T's. Revachol's weird. Huh? Oh. No, I ain't got any money. The boss is, man. Yeah, it sure ain't good for me. Or you.
An old monument stands in the middle of the traffic island, pointing toward the sea. It looks as if it's been... A silver plaque on the statue's pedestal reads, "I am Philip III, the Squanderer, the greatest of the Philippian kings of Revachol, son of Philip II, the opulent, father of Philip IV, the insane." What did he do? You have no idea what you did a week ago. How would you know? High above you, the king stands triumphantly. The small, wrinkled woman does not greet you. She nods along to something on her radio. A photograph is clutched in her. The photo, an ambrotype from the turn of the century, as golden as her smile. No response wherever this woman is.
Wait. She's just a distracted old woman. Better to leave her alone. Why? I just told you why.
Hello, sir. Step right in. The store is open. Are you interested in a new and exciting book? It's a bookstore, sir. We sell books, postcards, and some board games. It's called Crime, Romance, and Biographies of Famous People.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold your horses, little girl. You're fooling nobody.
Sir, are you okay? Okay, sir. I'll try to answer any questions you have. My name is Annette, sir. My mum, her name is Plaisance. She owns the store. She's inside minding the register or organising the stock. Feel free to step in and browse our wares. I'm signalling that the store is open. Otherwise, people might not know. They'd miss out on the crime, romance, and biographies of famous people. Thank you, sir. I'm happy to help Mum out with the store. I do my studies at home at the moment. I have to help Mum keep this place running. Mum says it's necessary to do both because it builds character. Mum says a proper...
There is stress and unease behind these words.
Mum says it's peachy. She was a little afraid at first. There's talk about this house being cursed. Cursed in the way that makes them say that no business has ever really thrived here, sir. That they all go... Exactly, but we've been doing fine so far. They shouldn't be, but they seem real. Anyhow, they say that these grounds are doomed for businesses. Of course, sir. Crime fiction is about murders or burglaries or things like that, and the work of a policeman or a private detective who's trying to solve a crime and catch the criminals. It's exciting to people, I guess. They get to imagine dangerous things, and it's kind of like a puzzle. You don't look much like a policeman. Didn't mean to offend, sir. Sorry, sir. It's just that you don't look like Dick Mullen. What's that mean? And everything's better now, sir? Why is that? Oh, okay. I shouldn't have said that thing about Dick Mullen.
She looks at Dick Mullen. He isn't even drawn right. She examines the picture, trying to find whatever is wrong with it. She then shrugs and puts the book aside, unconvinced.
Sure you can, sir. He's just a fictional character. He'll be no match. Maybe you can show me some real police work, sir. It's the type of book where there's a rich lady, or there could be a story about a poor lady getting a rich man. It happens, but usually the guy gets rich in the process. Or should actually be rich himself, but those are unhappy books for most of the pages. People sad about what they have lost, but then it all turns out just fine in the end. These are not very common. You can't have a choice between bad and bad. Nobody wants to read, well, maybe then it's fine. Maybe that's really not a proper romance story. That's more like everyday life. Not in romance books, sir. These are about nice and pretty people, and everyone is happy in the end. I haven't read many of those. Maybe you should ask Mum. I don't think it's a romance story if the main characters break up, though. No, I don't know. Yes, she knows books.
What was that? An idea for an unfinished novel stuck somewhere. Later, when you get the chance, you should address these issues by getting...
Maybe some about other books? Oh, kings and queens and generals of old, or artists and writers, or musicians, those kinds of people. There's usually something extraordinary about them. I think that's why people read them, to find the secret.
Seems like most people who read those books fail to get more famous from reading them.
But it does make the famous people more famous. Why would they do that, sir? That's so cool. Maybe they'll make you a book cover picture and everything, standing over a dead body, holding a gun. No, sir, I can't. It would be too tiring to refrain from it. It's already tiring enough to remember to say it all the time. It's nice of you to say I could stop, though. That's a friendly enough face, most of the time.
You fail to deduce anything She waits intently.
It's okay, sir.
You disappointed a small child. Well done, champ. As you turn, a bright light catches your eye, making you squint. From a distant sunset, a stage light, flash photography, nowhere in particular. It's just what superstar law officers do. They squint at lights, and they solve shit. What are you, deaf? They're perfect, like rock star politician and drug addict teacher. Yeah, you have. You're a big dick cop, Dick Mullen, Salam Rocky Bayi, badass on the edge disco cop. Time to recede into a ludicrous fantasy world. Here we go. Camera, lights. Yeah, you know. Beneath it is just heartbreak, a pulmonary tract infection, atherosclerotic disease. This is the beginning of your legend. With a sudden flash, the world freezes around you, and you along with it. In an iconic moment. The display rack is brimming with worn paperbacks featuring an extremely muscular, sword-wielding barbarian on the cover. Nearly all the titles contain the word
Oh, Man from Hjelmdal. A very popular series of adventure novels. They're awfully immoral and violent books. Blood and violence, scantily clad women, epic narratives, all those mystical things. What does it matter? They're all the same. However, if you're a novice of the series, I'd recommend Hjelmdalaman, the man from...
Rows and rows of Hjelmdalamen blur your vision. You make out some titles. Man from Hjelm, maybe 100. Man from Hjelmdal, and not even close. Man from Hjelmdal in hell. Man from Hjelmdal and the Forest of Slaves. Nothing of interest. Only silence and the cosmic background pain radiation. The display rack is brimming with This bookstore is not strictly about crime, romance, and biographies of famous people. There's also a
Sir, please, no browse. I can't have you end up, like, opening a police store next door and steal...
Amidst the various books, you find one written by someone named Matthias W. Dundas. It's about these three things are very important. The point of the book, and many others on this shelf, is to give people medicinal advice in situations where it serves platitudes, while also telling everyone that traditional medicine, the kind people don't have access to and which costs more than this book, is garbage and would only give you cancer anyway. With wholeness, unity, balance. When it's up to your mind to heal yourself, then it's because of your mind that you're ill. The book features chapters on topics such as how to find magnesium. It even lists plants you can harvest magnesium from. There's even a chapter on that. Several maps have been attached to to a bulletin board hidden in the maps look old and fake. This large map displays Ozon, Laurenti disintegrating into mathematics. In the northeast, a dust mite stands on the north coast of Caillou. In a bookstore, you can, on Caillou, Revachol, a single 850 million people live on. The ocean breaks apart into a tangle of connections to other worlds. Words pass. You have little idea what perhaps they are gods. The north coast of a verdant to the east, Hudon. It's somewhere. It's so small you can't even see it. It's not really a map. It's a tourist thing. Still, it's detailed.
I'm sorry, officer. The map of Martinez is the only one available. The other two are not for sale anymore. They're quite valuable, though they might not look it. The map of Martinez is 90 cents, though. That old thing? It's an out-of-date map from when some design studio people tried...
The place does not look like a successful tour.
They didn't get that far, for some reason. A shame the project never got going. Would be nice if someone fixed Martinez up. All these ruins are bad for business. Always good to be informed of your surroundings.
The plaque on the shelf reads, biographies of famous people.
I would say... The Greatest Innocence. Yes, most certainly. It's an important educational tool, delving into the depths of history, religion, and their relation to innocentic power. A very influential historical figure. But surely I don't have to tell you that. The book is also very daring. The author aims to re-examine the universal understandings of the innocentic system, creating a fresh vantage, perhaps for a layman. Deep analysis.
Do her words seem vague and abstract to you?
Certainly. It's prudent for a person to have at least an elementary understanding of history.
You feel like you should get this one? Definitely. It's important somehow. There's something personal inside. Browsing through all the books with all their names makes suddenly a particularly odd title catches your eye. It reads, High Speed Love, the tragic true love story of Jacob Erb. High Speed Love chronicles the romance between two of the finest tip-top tourney racers in history. Next to Erb's life story, you see a slim biography of an Occidental. Next to that, Revacholian radio.
I really must insist you buy one of the books. Reading them is not for free. Do still browse. I'm sorry, I did not mean to rush you.
Advanced Race Theory. Everything is calm in the eye of the race storm. Your mind is lucid and bright. The mind-bending phylogenetics epic. The worn map features the patchwork grid of the streets of Martinez. With direction, your finger moves through the various streets, finally coming to a halt on the spot.
For a more detailed view of the map, go to your journal and select the Map tab.
These shelves are overburdened with books from the...
Oh, crime, robberies, murders, even sexual crimes. You're a police officer.
Crime fiction is a disgrace. And these books greatly overstate the excitement of police work. What's more, they completely ignore the psychological hardships of year after year. Not a single mention of all the stress this work creates upon the officer's family. Detective, you see, Dick Mullen on the job. Get me Mullen. The Stalwart Adventures of Richard P. Mullen. Dick Mullen and the Murder in the Orchard. A killing is declared. Dick Mullen in the murder house. The owner turns out he faked it to solve a case. Shelves filled to the brim with crime novels. You see a set of tattered curtains blocking the way to another room.
Excuse me, officer. The back room is strictly for employees only.
Just as you're about to pull apart the curtains, the petrified voice.
Sir, don't touch that. I told you it's off limits for the customers. Parapsychologically speaking, we're done if you decide to open them. I won't be held
She looks away, mumbling. Why is everyone always messing with the curtains? Why can't they just buy books like normal people?
No! Please just talk to me, officer. Come here and let's...
Talking is always good. Ghost, you see a tattered set of curtains and a polyhedron-shaped cage-like trinket.
Nothing. Now please go back to browsing the books. Don't you feel compelled to look at...
She speaks almost as if she's trying to put a spell on you. Oddly enough, the more she tries to draw you away from the curtains, the more alluring they become. You see some kind of charm, an irregular polyhedron assembled from bones, sticks, and straw. Inside, a disturbing fish head with empty eyes. This is a traditional Seminese ward, meant to provide protection against ill luck. Inhabitants of Ile de Fantôme. Aside from poking at it suspiciously, there is nothing else to do. You see a dimly lit room full of dusty furniture and trash. A doorway stands in the back.
I warned you. You're unleashing forces beyond...
A heavy door with a missing handle stands before you, covered in dozens, if not hundreds. What if you just break it down? Only an echo. No one is there. That's right. Take in your surroundings. You need to have a solid ground and a proper posture if you want to succeed. The room is dimly lit and littered with old barbershop rubbish, but the path to the door is clear. It's made of a solid block of wood, but it has stood there for ages. The hinges are old and coated with a carmine layer of rust. It should be doable. Ow, shoot. Whose moronic idea was it to just run through the... Walk it off, son. Stop wriggling like a maggot. It's nothing to worry about.
Are you alright? This looked...
What is going on there? Are you really... I warn you, don't tempt the spirits, officer. Don't tempt the spirits or you'll damage the holy wards on the door.
It barely looks like you've done any damage to the door, however. It's still locked and closed.
You've hurt yourself now. I told you not to mess around back there. What are you even trying to accomplish, you fool? You're only making things worse. Stop it. Be compelled to look at the books. Go to them. Cursed? Who said that? Annette? I will have a word with her. This place is not cursed. It has a robustly magnetic energy. Good for commercial activity. My business is thriving, sir.
What in God's name is she talking about?
Annette, yes, my daughter. I hope she wasn't slacking off again with her nose in science fiction. Tell me, was she at her post doing her job like a proper girl? Oh, shameful girl. What is she up to this time? Wonderful. Did you talk to her? Great. On a scale of 1 to 10, how compelled were you to buy books after talking with her? My precious, her dedication brings joy to my heart. If you have children, I hope they turn out as great as my Annette. Mind your own business, sir. In our society, people don't get to tell each other how to...
Denial is the way she copes with criticism.
You must be kidding. There's nothing like that happening. Good, sir. What does a young child do with money anyway? No, I save it for her as a fund. She's securing her fund.
Such criminal behavior would not happen in more developed countries.
Those countries will realize they've raised a lazy and spoiled generation. Are we done with the jokes now?
Yes, we've had quite enough fun here. Right.
The woman before you scans the store. A small mountain of colorful board game boxes. There are new...
Wonderful board games, sir. The Viticulturist is a Braubritter is a fun game of economic competition, but can get quite intense after a while. We have games for the whole family. You can play with your children. Then you're a lucky man, officer. Children are the great... For playing with friends, I'd recommend Suzerain...
The streets will flow red once more. A great torrent rushing down Rue de Esperance. You wait.
The streets will not flow red with anything.
I'm Cindy the fucking Skull. What else do you want to know? Date of birth, blood type, the last time I was tested for Hep C. And here I was trying to be polite. Just can't win with you pigs.
The lieutenant furrows his brow at another one of your eccentricisms. Hatred, disgust. It's difficult to tell which of the two is more present in her girlish features. The woman on the boat does not notice.
That Ozon whore. Someone's got to keep an eye on.
Ozon is an archipelago 2 days' travel away from Rivershore. Its moneyed residents used to posh restaurants and upscale boutiques.
Probably the Wild Pines rep. We should talk to her. She's a professional negotiator, though. I have the feeling she will be very cooperative. You should take the lead. Ask her unexpected questions, you know? Do your thing. Don't be afraid to get a bit...
Good idea, piggies. Run along now. Fuck her. Can't you tell? I'm painting a beautiful... I haven't really started it yet. I'm waiting for the right word. Have you ever tried your hand at graffiti-o? When faced with a blank wall, most people write unimaginative stuff. We rarely see pigs round here, though. Just union cat. This place is severely lacking in havoc. Not even the occasional trash can fire. I thought I'd mix it up. You know, yeah? Thanks. I'm sure the inspiration...
She means the opposite.
I ain't no snitch, pigstein. Go forth and forage in...
Actually, there is a shortage of people who talk to us in a norm.
We weren't put on this earth to make your life pleasant. Fuck, watch your back, ungulate.
A sturdy metal door guards the southwest entrance to the apartment. The door rattles against your knuckles. The door rattles again. But this time, you hear an elderly woman.
Stop banging on the door! I'm not letting any more strangers inside. Doesn't matter who I am. Now go on. Ha! The police? Everyone knows the police don't come round here. No. I already told you. Go check the backyard door. Maybe someone there will.
Backyard door? There must be another
Madame, I assure you, we are real police officers.
There is no reply. Just faint sweepings. The door rattles again.
Stop banging on the door! Ha! The police? No. I already... Go check the backyard.
Backyard door? A striking woman leans against the cabin top of her sailing boat, smiling as you approach. Her green raincoat glistens with droplets.
Good afternoon, officers. I'm Joyce L. Messier. I represent the board of Wild Pines, the owners of the harbour. You gentlemen must be from the RCM.
I'm afraid my partner doesn't shake hands.
None taken, officer. Either way, I'm glad you're both here now. I was dispatched to handle a strike, not a lynching. Anything I can do to...
That is good to hear, madame. My colleague will take the lead on this interview. I should let you know that he is recovering from an unusual...
There's a trace of irony in his voice.
How interesting. I wish you a swift recovery. In the meanwhile, you have my full cooperation. And why, yes I am. Officer, I assure you I'm a highly qualified pleasure craft
The crowns of her teeth are porcelain, white as qualified pleasure craft operator. So charming.
I just renewed its safety inspection last month, officers. It is completely seaworthy. In fact, it's taken part in not one, but two insulindic regattas. Even
Actually, you don't. It is a little-known fact among those who police that the Wayfarer Act specifically denies the RCM the authority to demand anyone's operator license. I was just being polite. Even school children know the Wayfarer Act. No need to politicize this. You may still ask for the lady's passport.
Of course.
The woman is silent, smiling while the waves lap against the hull. In your hand, under the plastic, a light blue passport saying, Republic of Vespa. The coat of arms has a lion and an ostrich. Seigent, the Republic of Vespa, formerly the Republic of Vespa Messina, was once a dual kingdom. An amicable parting of ways produced two constitutional monarchies, Vespa The richer of the two is an Occidental nation known. The woman, born in the year 3 in the commune of Revachol, smiles at you, face adorned with frown lines and crow's feet. The photo is recent. The name reads Rejoice Leighton Messier.
Yes, but please, Joyce is much more efficient. My husband is. I have dual citizenship. A Vespertine is handier when...
She nods and returns the plastic bag to her coat.
Of course there are. We're on an archipelago. How else are you supposed to get around? Yes, we are. We are on Le Caillou. We are. And the city of Revachol is on the island of Le Caillou. I haven't seen anyone else drive a souped-up Capri Kenema motor carriage.
Actually, that motor carriage has been specially issued to serve as a patrol, and it's for crossing long distances in the greater Revachol industrial...
Neither is this. A toy, I mean. It's a machine for crossing long distances in the Bay of Revachol, between the...
You need to make this lady admit she's only riding around on this boat because she's rich. Why what? Stop thinking. Take her down. Before you do, it might be pertinent to ask a few more questions. Learn whatever you can about this boat of hers.
The boat? No. It is called Cor de Leyte 19 because that's the type of sloop it is. It's a pleasure craft, a 19 pacer. It also happens to be rated for Category 1 racing. Though these days I mainly use it for business. My sloop? I like it a lot. It's the eel's hips, baby.
I'm enjoying this part of the interview. It has so little to do with the murder we're investigating.
Oh my, the E word. You mean to say that it's a symbol of conspicuous consumption? That I'm a member of the ruling class?
Detective, may I remind you that Mrs. Messier is a professional negotiator.
Then what does that say? Does it say docking reserved for residents of Rue de Saint-Ghislain, 33A? 33A? This old proletarian haunt here? As I said,
Your synapses flesh. Yep, that's the stuff.
I assure you they drove quite the hard bargain for this space. But you're right, I am a bourgeois woman, and this is my long, incredibly lightweight, interminably bourgeois but good. This reality.
Yes, reality is your side, an experimental side case.
How truly curious. A sort of philosopher detective.
Are they now?
A deep synthesis. I'll assist you however I can then.
All right, we're in. I know these all look good, but begin with the first, okay?
We're in Martinez, baby. A casual term of endearment popular among the 50-plus crowd. It's a disco holdover, pay it no heed. Aren't we all?
She refers to your corresponding ages.
Martinez is a district of Revachol. A very small district tucked away near the industrial harbour, north of the 881 and Jamrock. You would be excused for not knowing about it. Unimportant, they say. Forgotten, even. shelled to smithereens during the revolution. It has its charms, just not this time. I'm not a good ambassador. I've only been here once before, as a teenager. This place used to be a province, a workers' resort before the city swallowed it and the artillery did its work. The reeds are the real star of the show here now. The further down the coast, the wilder it gets. I'm not a good ambassador. This place used to be a province. It's not really a sea, it's the Bay of Revachol. Yes, we're on an island in an ocean, the world's largest body of water.
Known to the early Revacholians as Les Immensités Bleues, the Blue Immensities.
Caillou, as you already know. Imagine a pebble. A smoothed-over pebble amidst a great blue sea, misshapen, cracked. The cracks are the River Esperance. We're in...
It is clear this pebble is of enormous value to humanity at large.
Revachol? Revachol is what you call the great kind. History detective. They built this city to resolve history. Our part in it, at least. The nations of the Occident, or migrant workers from Seminine and Ile-Marat, in the DeLorean century. 380 years ago, they say it's where the terrible questions of our time will be answered. The tensions are highest, the fault lines deep. By that I mean conflicts. Ideological conflicts. The stuff of... We are standing on a fertile, self-sufficient island able to sustain up to 200 million people in the middle of the Insulindic Ocean, the world's connective tissue. It's where the money is. I think it's fair to say so. Martinez is about 22 kilometers from the center of the world. That soldering iron is the bank of the world building. The bottom floors are Insiacom, coalition government, Insulindian Mission Command.
Silence. She lowers her hand. The water, the light. It's as though you're seeing it for the first time. There is no recognition, only the immensity of the sea and the cold radiating from it.
We are where we are. I have no truer answer to give, unfortunately.
This is one thought you need to complete. Where are you?
Was there something else you wanted to know? I remember...
This has been informative. Thank you, ma'am. I'm sure my memory-impaired partner... Might I suggest not asking them all right now? Monsieur will be here later too, and...
Absolutely. My commitment here is long-term.
Oh, of course not. You are already diligent for getting this far, and diligent...
Indeed. I'm always at your... These are unimportant times, Detective. You and I were born after the dust had settled. 1,000th of a second too late. For the big time. The revolution. It's quite easy. Every 100 years or so, our species gets together to decide what's next, who gets shot in the head, and who gets the mineral rights. It's a real kerfuffle. Those would be the communists. Generally speaking, 40 million people got shot in the head during the World Revolution. But the communists, they all got shot in the head. Oh, and the anarchists too. They shot them well. Did they ever? Before they got shot themselves, they shot 2 million people.
Yeah, it was a kerfuffle, all right.
Yes, the Insulindian deluge, they call it. Oh, lots of people. Even the king got shot in the head, or thrown beneath a horse, or drowned. The real king abdicated and lived out a long and productive life as a venture capitalist in Grad. Yes, King Guillaume had a nose for bad PR. He ran before it. What is the expression? Went down? Anyway, Gil got out alive and his nephew Frisell got shot in him and tens of thousands of his wonderfully fascist kingsmen. It was a wild. The liberals got the mineral rights. And by mineral rights, I mean everything. Liberals are usually middle-class people, Detective, or the remaining gentry, the beneficiaries of the pre-revolutionary. Some were rich enough to stay with the Constitution, with monarchy. Big mistake. Others bet on the revolution. They were called the ultras, or ultra-liberals. They didn't win so much as survive. We were the last ones standing when the...
We? She's one of them. Of course.
To foreign intervention. The coalition. Those people really took the mineral rights. The liberals took everything that wasn't nailed to the ground. The coalition took the ground. The ocean, the laws, and the people. The coalition of nations. Grad, Mesk, Vesper, Messina, Oranje, and Sur-la-Clay, the armed center of the world. They landed here and ended the revolution. It was the moralist thing. The moralists believe in keeping everything exactly the way it is. They believe in mineral rights, at least not in the same manner and volume as the others do. They are the long-standing provisional rulers of Revachol now, the coalition government.
The rulers of Revachol, and also...
This is their zone of control. They embolden the RCM with crumbs of the same law they took. Technically speaking, you are a moralist.
The color of moralism is blue. The official motto of Moral Intern, or Moralist International, is a blue forget-me-not, a piece of grey sky. Unofficial. For a moment, there was hope.
An almost endearingly moralist standpoint. It must be hard to take a moderate approach to head shooting in your line of work. The turn of the century revolution? Don't answer it. It's a trick. The revolution began in '02 on the Isla of Grad, though by the end, nearly the whole world had gotten involved. It wasn't a who, but a what. A pandemic of Zarat, a particularly virulent prion disease, which the authorities in Grad proved unable to contain. Then Mazov came along and overthrew the government. It made people overthrow their governments. Of course not. It was a highly infectious microorganism that destroyed brain tissue. The actual causes of the revolution were material. The pandemic only provided from Revachol and Grad? Not far. The world managed to cauterize itself. Mazov's government was overthrown in '08, and the coalition crushed the Revachol commune 2 years later. Why? You and I, officer. Our lives in the zone of control. A city-state divided into free market zones under the everlasting interregnum of the coalition of nations. And you, of course, the citizens' militia. The zone of control is the third incarnation of Revachol, after the failure of the suzerain and the commune. Modernity. They developed the marvels of the inter-eastlery communication, telematic milieus, radiation, colored plastics. Meanwhile, in Revachol West, the aftermath...
51 minus 8 equals 43.
Time flies. The 20s saw a decade of urban war, west of the river leveled, offshore platforms in flames. Still, It's regarded as an improvement on what came before. 08 to 19 was simply hell. The 30s? Things settled down in the 30s. Revachol East transformed itself into the world's largest tax haven, with the international community's blessing. For the first time in a long time, it seemed like things were going somewhere. No, it was a market mirage fueled by cocaine and quantitative easing. The 40s dispelled it like a cold splash, an Isla-wide hangover, you might say. And here we are. Welcome to reality, baby.
For her to be where she is, Wild Pines Group must have picked the right side.
They picked the winning side. That's why they're here, and others are not. Perhaps it wouldn't have turned out that way had I been in charge. I might have bet on the king and led the Pines to doom. I would have sided with the cannons. If you'd seen the calibers of the things, you might have too. Perhaps it's better I was born when I was. 10 of the 14 Indo tribes got it wrong. Feld, Capri, Tricentennial. So I suppose I would have been in good company. Good question. What would you have done differently? And I asked you, philosopher detective of the Citizens Militia. You and everyone else. But that's got nothing to do with preventing the revolution. Oh well. What was, I guess. They are what they are. Who knows? An afterbloom may yet come. Anyway, enough sentimentality.
Not so fast. Who is she in all this? Ask her who she is. She owes you an answer.
I am the vilest of the vile. A traitor. A devourer of nations and infants. I am an ultra.
She raises the corner of her mouth, smirking, revealing a canine.
An ultra-liberal. It's a type of liberal. From the revolution. It's, not the moderate kind. Yes. I am the nether creature of the Forbidden Swamp. I pushed the king under a shit wagon and betrayed the revolution. My kind surrendered the nation to financial... I can see you thought our kind were all extinct. After all, no sane person identifies as this anymore. Not in broad daylight. I can see we're not so different, you know. Tell me, now that I've uncoiled myself, do you find me frightening?
In her green eyes you see a mixture of truth and self-satire. Decades of guilt and pride.
A fitting punishment, to be forgotten, if not forgiven. Save a prayer for us in our chateaus on Ozon and in Stella Mare. When the dust settled, the Liberals were the only ones left to clean up the mess. By virtue of their survival, they were handed enormous power to shape the future. This was all our last generation managed. With due respect to our overlords, the eternal caretaker government that keeps Martinez a monument to the efficacy of its artillery. I would not have relinquished sovereignty to the Coalition. Not here in Martinez, and not in the Stella Maris or Delta Beachheads either. If not for my own sake.
She realizes her small, cold fists are clenched. She loosens them.
Then for my daughters. We had an obligation to defend our sovereignty. We should have burned the whole Isola down rather than let them have it. Perhaps my intellectual vanity will be my undoing.
You're no dummy yourself.
A smart boy getting smarter, one basic term of reality at a time. Yes, I suppose I am. But I wouldn't be a patriot anywhere but here.
Seditious talk, man.
Yes. Whatever else I am, I'm also a mother. And a wife. A bird? A sphenicid? A flightless bird of the polar regions? Some sort of krill hunter? No, wait. You're an ancient ruin. A symbol of hubris and decay. Half submerged in some salty sea. Of course you're not, my dear. I'm just terrible at guessing games. Ah! This is the pier of Rue de Saint-Ghislaine, 33A, where the tenants have been kind enough to rent me a slot or two. A pre-revolutionary tenement. Old buildings are called tenements, you see. And new buildings, bâtiments. After les bâtiments nouveaux. But 33A and 33B are not nouveau. They're old. This one used to be 8 to 10 stories tall. A real high-rise by the standards of the last century. Built to mirror the skyscrapers across the bay in the Delta. That was before the war, of course. Mostly the urban middle class, I believe. This was once primo real estate, before the cannons locked 4 or 5...
Splat, splat.
Wonderful. The girl in the old lady rags. Looks like a sullen and rebellious member of a teen infra... Yes, you and I belong to the supraculture. We're common, the herd. The music on the radio, the food in the chain restaurant, those are all too popular for the girl in the old lady. She prefers a fantasy world, an infraculture with its own dress code and vernacular. It is an illusion, I'm afraid. There is no refuge from the supraculture. Young people who dye their hair funny colors and wear old people's clothes are stupid, and their little rebellion is self-defeated. All right, what next?
Suddenly, you're not so sure you're part of the supraculture.
And what would that be?
She lets out an unrestrained laugh, the crow's feet stretching onto her cheeks.
My reality-impaired colleague is not so far off. Many of the RCM's fashions, even weapon preferences, borrow heavily from classic Vespertine cop shows. My precinct alone has 3 officers who go by the name Ace. But please, do continue this reality exploration. I was just remarking.
Yes, let's. Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I know. Anything else I can do? What we do. I'm afraid I don't speak for Wild Pines as a whole. It's a giant
There was a touch of discomfort there. She wants to merely represent.
The Pines' core competency is logistics. Container shipping, freight, that sort of thing. See those airships there, blinking? Those are the shipping side of things, and that is the terminal. Another subdivision deals...
The Wild Pines Group is one of the original Revacholian Indo-tribes. Companies awarded royal monopolies by the king, the suzerain himself, centuries ago. The king is Jean-Baptiste, Elysium, an unknown entity known as Brightest.
Why, thank you. I'm not at liberty to discuss the company balance sheet, but I can tell you that last year, the company booked more than 20 billion.
A billion?
$20 billion is a large number, but the conglomerate employs 72,000 people. They all need to be paid. Then there are capital improvements, interest payments. A conglomerate the size of the Wild Pines is like a shark. If it stops moving, it will die. Then what becomes of those 72,000 families? It's a tremendous responsibility. They started as an exploration and cargo fleet conducting trade between the Samaran and Insulindian Isolas 250 years ago, when pine ships explored the South Seminese and charted. Centuries of care, deliberation, and madness have gone into this endeavor. Vessels pass through the great unrest to re-emerge with apricots in tow. The logic of the system is totalizing. It's taken everything. You know more than you let on. Certainly it helped, but most of the original Indo tribes have failed or been absorbed. To survive, Wild Pines had to grow and adapt. No suzerain did that. You mean aside from being the terminal's legal owners, who are responsible for moving 8% of the world's cargo? There are no minor cogs in the system. Each terminal must be accounted for, lest the entire system break. Every hiccup in such a system means thousands lose their jobs, the world over. I'm here to assure that doesn't happen.
With your help, hopefully, says her warm tone.
Everything. Right up to, but not including, trade secrets. First, you'd have to repeal the Emergencies Act of Trade in Aliments. That gives me the right to silence. It's quite the octopus. Why? By throwing off half a century of foreign domination under the Coalition. Unfortunately for you, the Coalition also leases you the right to police
You'd be shooting yourself in the foot, in other words.
But I am derailing us. You wanted to know about the strike. I believe the official title is Senior Labor Negotiator. In practice, I'm a grocery clerk. I relay the union's demands to Wild Pines and return with Wild Pines' counteroffer.
And how are the talks going?
They're not. That's the problem. The union stopped all negotiations a week ago, after that awful lynch. Now they won't even let me into the harbour. There's a 2-meter-20 racist behemoth blocking the gates. Oh, so you've met him. Has he beguiled you with his inane theories?
My colleague has his peculiarities. Let's not go into...
Of course. To each their own. Let's say I was not making the kind of progress I'd hoped for when I first arrived.
And when did you first arrive?
I arrived 3 weeks ago. Yes, in the middle of February. The bay was still partially frozen then. I prefer to do these things on site.
But the strike began in December.
I wasn't the original negotiator here. I took over after Mr. Gaumont hit a wall with Mr. Clare, the union boss. Mr. Clare refused to speak with Gaumont despite concessions he'd granted the union in pride.
This isn't the first time the union has gone on strike.
Heavens no. There have been 2 prior strikes. Both times the union won significant concessions, including overtime pay and a medical plan. This time their demands are more, I guess you could say, aggressive.
Ludicrous even. It's meant.
Mr. Clare told him to... how did he put it? Fuck off, midget. Gaumont is short of stature, you see. Yes. Keep in mind, this is a negotiator Mr. Clare has worked with before, and who was more than fair with him and the union. There are leaflets everywhere, and banners. What did they say again? Oh yeah, every worker, a member of the board.
Most of the workers probably don't know what that means.
In its defense, another said, demand democracy. Pretty tame stuff compared to every worker, a member of the board. It's quite simple, you see. Every time the Wild Pines Group makes a decision, about what? About anything really, it needs the signature of each of the 2,200 workers. Just so you understand, this is but one of 22 terminals owned by Wild Pines. Essentially, not only are they kings of the company, they are also kings of the 72,000 employees of Wild Pines Group. They're having a blast. But how can they afford it? After 4 months, my assumption was they would prefer a more practical... I'm not sure. Naturally, I assume that was just their opening position. A hard-nosed tactic with a side of mockery. But there's been no follow-up, just the same nonsensical slogan. And now, people are getting lynched, I hear. Behind the word...
Excuse me, from whom did you hear about this lynching?
I first heard it from the bowyer at the gates. The one whose very name advertises his aversion to work. I think he said it was, call me mañana.
This checks out.
The scabs? You mean the huddled masses of Jamrock, come to plead for work where the union refuses? If they were organized by Wild Pines or its affiliates, then it would be a company secret. I could not share it with you. Not right now, at least.
It's implied. She's open to discussing this matter with you at a later occasion.
Everard Clare is a man of the utmost integrity. If you can say one thing about him, it's that he always puts the interests of the workers first. Of course not. Everard is fantastically corrupt. I imagine he has a thick, viscous goo where you and I have blood. He is the most corrupt individual I have ever seen, and I deal with men like him for a living. If there is anyone more venal, more irredeemably nepotistic, then it's his twin brother, Edgar. Yes, Edgar looks exactly like his brother, except for that lazy eye. He also talks exactly like Everard does. And when one's term as foreman is up, it's how they circumvent the term limits, you see, with a funny little switcheroo. While in office, they've embezzled God knows how much of their workers' dues. The Débardeurs Union was once a perfectly normal institution. 20 years ago, anyway. It must not organize labor at its best, as they say. Then something happened in the local chapter elections. The brothers Clare came and transformed it into a...
A mob. The debarders are a crime syndicate. Sad as it may be, I suspect we'll be forced to...
Refreshingly honest, officer. The company has tried appeasing in the past, but I'm afraid our concessions have only emboldened Everard and his brother. And your opinion, Detective, if I may ask? I'm a curious and talkative person, you see. Would you say the Debarders Union is... Indeed, and a hungry one. Sadly, Wild Pines have cooperated with what amounts to a crime syndicate for 2 decades. However much you feed the leech always hungers. I'm glad you asked. There was a woman, the previous forewoman of the Union.
Disappeared?
Yes. On the last day of the local chapter elections, her daughter phoned in and said she wasn't running anymore, or coming to work. Ever. End of story. Indeed. The company suspects foul play, but there's nothing they could do. It was a union matter. The point of the presentation is, these kinds of things happen around the Clares. Watch out when you're...
Thank you for your concern, ma'am. We'll be just fine.
Of course. How else can I help? Quite a few things, I'm afraid. The information I'm to share with you includes sensitive trade secrets. For the sake of my employer, I have to ask for your names and badge numbers.
Of course, ma'am. We should have introduced ourselves. I am Lieutenant Kitsuragi, and this is my colleague from Precinct 41. I'm afraid he doesn't have his badge.
More curious by the minute. Why is that, Detective? I see. So, are you saying you lost your badge during the course of this episode? Oh dear. I suppose this does explain...
She must have been suspecting something.
As I said, ma'am, his technique may be very unconventional, but he is.
Of course, I sympathize. But I'm afraid I simply can't share anything more until I've seen...
She's a professional negotiator. She should be open to some sort of mutually beneficial arrangement. She's a negotiator. Just float a favor at her. Insinuate.
I will be frank with you. If I'm going to break protocol, I need to be able to justify it to my superiors. They're going to want to see something very
You're in, but expect her to drive a hard bargain.
Reports from inside Terminal B suggest it's a hub for the local drug trade. This is an open secret in Martinez. The Union controls the terminal, so it goes to reason.
They're profiting from this trade.
The company has tried looking into this matter before, to no avail. Perhaps someone with your authority and resource, or you can recover your badge. Though if I may be blunt with you, it sounds like that may be a lost cause.
Detective, a word in private before we continue.
Wow, you work hard. Oh, yes, you hustle. You're a provider. It's tough out there, but you keep it real and provide. Oh yeah, like a horse, a workhorse. Look at yourself. You're a human pedometer. You must have walked 200,000 steps down cracked asphalt. That is the sign of a hustler who never gives up. The world is harsh and people are evil. You didn't make it that way. And that's just what it's like. Life and death. But you got gills on your side, baby. Got those black papers with the faces of the innocent. It ain't easy, but you do it. Day in and day out. You didn't make the rules, but you won't lose. You're a cop, and a sprinter, and a money printer. You didn't log that in as a donation either. You don't log any of that shit in. You're a straight Sure. And has it been easy? Is life easy? Are you rich? That's right. You work harder than anyone. You almost rode yourself to the grave, and you're still practically a hobo. Why is that? Boo-hoo. The system is broken. The establishment is keeping me down. That's not the fuck yeah attitude you're used to. What is this? Why are you so poor? Look, the immigrants are cool. The immigrants play cool music. Everyone likes them, especially the women. Don't hate on the immigrants. They've got nothing to do with you living under a boat. That's right, 100%. Fucking G-Man's got his jam-covered sticky fingers in your pocket, stealing from you every... Our tax is almost non-existent in the Gossamer state that is Revachol. You and I both, but they got those indirect modes of taxation. Sales tax, excise duty, extraction tax. 98% of all your money. Here you go, hustler. Fight the righteous fight. Free the people. Keep it real. Keep it street. Keep foaming at the mouth furiously. It's clear you like the hard stuff, Brota. Evening falls. The time has come to take the vow. The vows are blood and flesh. Lower intestine. The term is metabolic and circulatory system. Fascism, Brota. Many things, but it's mostly about trusting your gut. Who does your gut tell you is the source of Revachol's problems? Yes, them, but also women. Women, men of war, you don't like them. They're insane. Their idiocy needs to be scrubbed off this world with rubbing alcohol. Women need... That's what fascism boils down to. The rest is also important. Stomach truth. You're having a stomach truth because you've said the hard things that others won't say. The good things, you've said them many times. Okay, yes, let's call it that. That sounds much better. You're going to keep your views, right? Keep your views, Brota. For the nation, smart. Best not to mention the women too often. That's why you're the head and I am the stomach. Lonesome, long way home.
This is not going quite as I hoped it would, Detective. Honestly, I was expecting you to use your unorthodox technique to keep her off balance and, not volunteer us to be her henchman. This woman is running circles around us. She might have known about your misplaced badge all along, or she's simply an adept improviser. Either way, we've played straight into her hands. No. If there is reasonable suspicion, we must investigate. Otherwise, she could claim... What I propose is, we ask her, then we investigate. Briefly. but do not share the outcome of this investigation with her. We tell her it's done and demand for her information on the lynching. Oh, that would be fantastic, but do we have the time? The world is large and your badge is 8 by 6 centimeters.
The situation might have changed drastically by the time you locate it.
You could request a new one from your station, but that would literally take months.
You're back. Good. What can I help you with? More lessons in basic reality? My favorite part of the day. Go ahead, ask me anything. Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I know. Anything else?
Is what you want to say, but it isn't that easy, is it? Look at that lady. Take a gander. Squint your eyes, bub. Why, yes. Tucked away under that sturdy green raincoat, almost rustic in its simplicity, while dull orange pearls hang from her earlobes, red from the cold. These are the kind eyes of the rich man that seem to say, within reason. Now look at you, you misery-clad simian, barely able to tie your own laces. Your armpits are lakes. A scythe of booze precedes you. You're poor as balls. You can't ask this person for money. You're too... Yes, you're too ashamed to ask this person for money.
As I was saying, if there's any way I may be of assistance, please don't hesitate to ask. It's quite straightforward. Someone is using Terminal B to smuggle raw ingredients from the Samaran Isola into Revachol with the Union's blessing. Wild Pines has suspected it for years.
Ingredients for what?
Meth and dextroamphetamine, GBL and various synthetic psychedelics. Honestly, it might be quicker to say what you can't make. Yes, after they clear the terminal, we lose track. The actual production is taking place at various sites in and around Jamrock Quarter, north of...
Wild Pine seems to be well apprised of the local drug trade, man. Do you mean to say the Union also produces the product? Says...
We're in logistics. It's our business to know. And no. As far as the company knows, the Union does not produce it. They transport the ingredients. Yes, but you won't get anything out of Evrat and the Dockworkers Union. Still, every chain has its...
The handoff. The motor lorries at the roundabout.
Precisely. Someone needs to move the ingredients from the harbour into the city. Once they reach Jamrock, they're distributed to a network of local manufacturers well beyond our grasp. Perhaps you've noticed that a number of lorries are tangled in a traffic jam at the roundabout just now. Interview the drivers who are still hanging about. One of them might be... I'll be explicit. If you find this driver, I will share company secrets with you. We did. On more than one occasion. Apparently, there's some sort of inter-precinct disagreement about whose jurisdiction...
We know the company has launched its own probe into the Union's alleged involvement. We also know it's come up empty. It's not just the RCN.
Well, here's your chance, officers. No. We asked East Motor Track to raise the drawbridge. The road company is a partner of one of our subsidiaries. However... This is a limited time opportunity. Once the complaint has been processed by the Trade Committee, they'll have no choice but to lower the drawbridge, and the operation will continue. Thousands of litres of raw ingredients will pour onto the streets of Revachol. Not the east across the river, but the west. The vulnerable, the weary.
Well, at least this solved...
What is that, Lieutenant?
Why I had to call East Motor Track and beg them to open the drawbridge for me. I'd wondered since I first drove in, on my motor carriage.
I am sorry for the inconvenience, Lieutenant Kitsarai. How do you think they're financing this strike? There are thousands of unpaid dock workers going strong for the...
There was a shakedown of local businesses preceding the strike. Many were squeezed to bankruptcy.
With all due respect to these desert cacti, the contents of a few cash registers cannot provide for 2,000 men. The local businesses can scarcely provide for them. Precisely. Smuggled out of that very gate at night, most likely. then loaded onto lorries and driven to Jamrock. You simply need to find one driver who will open up to you. Yes? Excellent. According to my reports, there are at least 3 lorry drivers lingering near the roundabout. It may come to nothing, or it may just blow the case wide open. I can keep the drawbridge up for a few more days at least. In the meantime, let me know if there's any other way I may be of assistance. Of course, Detective.
Yes?